Had an intro. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Second Syndicate. It is Thursday. It is live. We have a amazing show for you today. I am Alicia Garcia, also known as the Boomstick Babe here in the state of Colorado. We have some very special guests. This is a Colorado edition of what's going on here. Welcome, my friend Mike. He is our producer over with X America News. He is filling in for my partner and friend, Teddy Collins, who is away on vacation today. So I am lucky enough to have him co-host with me today. Welcome, Mike. It's great to have you.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'll try to add my 2 cents in and assist where I can.
Awesome. Well, our guests tonight, they need no introduction, but they're going to get one anyway. These are my great friends, my great friend Ava Flanell. She is known as a huge influencer and content creator. She's also a huge advocate for the Second Amendment here in Colorado and nationally. She has been in the business for quite some time, and she is a personal friend of mine. So welcome, Ava. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. And we also have Ray Elliot. He is the president of the Colorado State Shooting Association, also known as CSSA. Will do my best not to mess that up tonight, but this is a very interesting time. If you guys don't know what's going on out there, yesterday was May 7th. It was the last day of the legislative session in the state of Colorado, and we got our tail ends handed to us in the 2A this year. This has probably been one of the worst years for the Second Amendment in the state of Colorado. And we have some people that have been involved a lot more recently, the Colorado State Shooting Association. And my good friend Ava decided to join their organization. And I thought this was a perfect opportunity to bring more awareness to their cause and show more of what they're doing, and just from one friend to another, show some support and show some camaraderie and kind of highlight what they're doing here in Colorado and kind of bring that to a national awareness, because Lord knows that we need it. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining us. Please, if you're out there on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, share this. We are heavily shadow banned, so whatever you can do to help us, super chats help us. Everything that you do here and donate helps come back to the Second Syndicate. We are a 501c4, so we are doing nonprofit work to keep the Second Amendment alive here in Colorado. We work in tandem with great organizations such as the CSSA, and you can find all those links to everything that we're doing in our bio. Without further ado, we'll just jump right on into it. So first of all, thank you guys for joining us very much. I want to talk about the fact that my friend Ava Flanell is now involved in this organization, and her and I actually were just talking about her becoming involved in this and how that has happened. So Ava, what is your role as, what is it, VP of Legislative Engagement for the CSSA? What does that look like, and what brought you to this opportunity?
Yeah, thanks so much for again having us. So I recently took the position as Vice President of Legislative Engagement with Colorado State Shooting Association. It's been, I'm trying to think, Ray, it's been maybe 2 months, 3 months. I jumped in mid-legislative session, and basically how I got involved, it's actually kind of an interesting story, kind of funny, but my friend Colby, who is he runs the Young Republicans of El Paso County here. I became friends with him, and he hit me up on Facebook one day, messaged me, and he was like, "Hey, CSSA," he's like, "You should consider, maybe joining or getting involved with them." And I was like, "Who's CSSA?" And he mentioned, that they're with the NRA or something. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm good." And he's like, "Hey," he's like, "just like the GOP, you have to be the change that you want to see." Like, because we all last year, we constantly, we were incredibly upset with the GOP, and same thing, so it's like, okay, well, you have to be the change that you want to see. And so I'm like, yeah, that's true. I can't sit here and criticize and be like, no, 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 and scoff at it and, not get involved. And then I talked to you about it, and I was like, yeah, this guy Colby asked me if I was interested in possibly getting involved with CSSA. And you were like, "Oh my gosh, you should do it. That's great." Again, you kind of reiterated that, like, we have to be that change. Like, if we want to see some movement, and the fact that they are involved with the NRA and they have, you know, the backing of NRA, which
The
people could
backing of
say
the
whatever
NRA
they want
funding.
about the NRA, but they're also still one of the biggest gun organizations in the United States, and they've done a ton. And so I thought about it. I talked to all of the guys at CSSA, made sure that, um, that I felt like their heart was all in the right place. And after thinking about it for some time, then I was like, all right, I decided to join. And they offered me that position. And it's been great ever since. Um, but yeah, so that's ultimately how it started. And it's kind of funny that you somehow were involved in it by me just telling you about it. And you're like, you got to do it. And all these other people were kind of pushing me to do it. But as far as my position and what I do is basically what I have been doing really the last couple of years, and that's to engage people, get people motivated, get them, one, educate them on what's going on. There seems to be this huge disconnect as to what's going on in the Capitol. And when you talk to most people, most citizens, they have no idea that any of this stuff is going on. And even if you're in the gun industry, I mean, there's so many times where I went to gun stores, I passed out flyers, and most people didn't even know that these bills were happening, and that, we needed people to rise up and encourage legislators to vote against them. And so it was very eye-opening for me, and I wanted to get people more active. And that starts with, one, educating them on what's going on. In addition to that, I work with other activists. I make sure that, we're kind of all, making, I guess, the grassroots movement a little bit larger, and making sure that we're successful in what we do. I also it was important for me to make the process of getting active much easier, because I don't know about you, but like Alicia, you and I, we met like, what was it, 3, 4 years ago at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, it was just you and I, and we were testifying against all these bills. And it was like, all right, well, who's bringing snacks this time?
Mm-hmm.
But I
Don't forget
remember
the
when I
Advil.
first signed up to testify, and it was just, it shouldn't be such a difficult experience. It shouldn't be so difficult to want to get active. And so my work is definitely by far, not even close to done. And me jumping in mid-legislative session, there's still a lot more that I want to do. But I'm hoping to educate a lot more people who want to get involved, and to kind of create this guide for them on how they can get involved, and how to make it as easy as possible for them.
Well, I remember us sitting there, and we had to help each other because we didn't
Mhm.
really have very many people that wanted to help us. So we had to find information out for ourselves, and we would be texting each other like, "Hey, do you have the link to that bill? Hey, did you hear about that bill? Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to sign up. Do you know which room it's in? Do you know which committee it's being heard at?" And it was like, there has to be some way to streamline this, and there has to be some way to make it more engaging and entertaining to bring people in, because I don't think people understand how long we sit there all day, and it's a waste of a day, and you
Mhm.
have to just get through it. And there's
Yeah.
all this language and mystery to what is going on, and the process could be very deterring to people who aren't very confident in government. And I mean, we got involved in this because Ava, she had me on her show a couple years ago, and I was telling her that I'm getting more involved in the legislative action, and I was like, "Girl, you have such a huge platform and you have such a big voice. You're here in Colorado. We need you. Like I want you to be more involved in this." And now she just, I really appreciate that, because you took it and you ran with it, and you got more people involved. And I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, these, how women are. They're going to be catty,
Yeah.
and they're going to fight and fight for the spotlight. And it's like, actually, it's a relief to have people like you and your sister and all the other women that we have in Colorado, that we can kind of share the duties, that it's not just all on one of us to do something. It's like, hey, I know Melissa's going to put out a great video. Everybody go watch Melissa's video because she did this. Hey, Ava, I can't be at the Capitol, but you can. So I trust you. Go and represent. And it's nice to have more people that can come together and work, rather than, competing with each other. We complement each other, and we've made a lot of strides in this industry. And I know we've kind of taken a lot of losses, but it takes a lot of people to do all this work. So it's really nice
Mhm.
to have
Oh
more
yeah.
people
And
involved.
Absolutely. And anybody, I mean, the more who are involved, the more who are part of the cause, the better, you know. And if for anybody who's not sure who Melissa is, that's my sister, and she's done a fantastic job making sure that, you know, people are educated about these bills. And it's funny because I got her involved and I was like, you need to come to the Capitol and testify. And then, you know, now she's very active. And again, it's just kind of that domino effect. And I want to continue that domino effect. You know, you encouraged me, I encouraged my sister, I've encouraged other people. And it's like, let's just keep that movement going.
Awesome. So, Ray, it's a pleasure to have you. Ray Elliot, he's the president of the Colorado State Shooting Association. We get a lot of questions from people, and they say, okay, who is the CSSA? Where has the CSSA been in all these years? And now that, Ray, you're the president of the organization, what changes under your leadership have we seen and should we expect? And welcome.
Well, thank you. Good to be here and looking forward to telling people about CSSA. Again, prior to my coming on the board, I really was not aware of CSSA just like everybody else. Hey, where did you guys come from? The organization has been around since 1926, but prior to a new board taking over in 2020, was pretty much inactive. And I've been the president. A new board came in 2020, and I think they had a lot of grit and determination to kind of resurrect from the ruins, so to speak, an organization that had been around a long time. And I've been able to watch and see it happen. And Alicia, you ask about, hey, what has changed? Ava is a great example. We have a board that is committed, that is engaged, that is working. One of the things that we wanted to do is make sure and this happened, I would say, in the last 6 months to make sure we're out there, that people are seeing us more, that they're aware and answering that question. Hey, where have you been? Where did you guys come from? Again, we've been around a long time, but we have found, I would say, new life, and we have just people with incredible experience. Ava talked about Colby. He's been a wonderful vice president. He's an avid outdoors person. He helped bring in Ava on board. Ava and I got to meet at the state capitol. Very, very impressed with her. And again, we want people representing all walks of life. Why did I get involved in the Second Amendment? I have not been involved all that long, but I have grandkids that live here in the state of Colorado. And so what happens that we're doing in the legislature today matters for them in the future. A lot of these decisions that get made, we're not going to feel the impacts of them for sometimes years, sometimes it's months before we feel the impact. But being able to protect that freedom, the Second Amendment freedom, is really big. What we've seen happen to this organization, I would say, in the last year, maybe even 9 months, has been absolutely phenomenal. Just the outreach, the amount of communication. If you are a member of CSSA, you are seeing emails coming out almost on a daily basis. We've brought in an additional person, our executive director, Huey Lageson. He has been wonderful in his ability to communicate, get messaging out. We're using a number of the people on the board. The talent on the board, again, we talk about that. We have a lawyer who's been wonderful. So as we look at lawsuits, and I know we're going to talk about that later, that lawyer has really brought a whole discipline to us about what items we can go after, which ones we want to be careful of, and just making sure we're spending money correctly in defending the freedoms of the citizens of Colorado. So it's been an
Absolutely.
exciting time, and we love the growth.
We appreciate that you guys are stepping up and getting more involved and wanting to join in on this fight. Shout out to Brian Pelham. He donated $20 in the super chat. Thank you very much, Brian, for supporting us. We really appreciate it. We are a grassroots movement here in the state of Colorado, doing our best to create awareness with media and togetherness and put a spotlight on everything that we're doing. So everything that you do to support us, especially donating, really, really helps. It helps boost our algorithms also because we're heavily shadow banned on the YouTube platform. Shout out to X America News because we are not shadow banned there and we have the freedom to speak there. So thank you so much. So we brought up the topic of the NRA, and I want to be very transparent because that's the whole point of having a platform like this, is to be honest with our people so they know exactly what we're going through here in Colorado. And I know even Ava said it herself when she heard that the NRA was involved. She kind of was like, a little taken back because of all the controversy that's surrounding the NRA. But I'm one of those people that also agrees with you that they're still the biggest dog in the fight and they're still the most well funded. And I looked into it and I talked to some people, and it looks very, very absolutely different now without the different leadership. And I know that the NRA wants to be more involved and continue the fight. And they've been footing the bill for a lot of these national lawsuits that a lot of people aren't aware of. They're funding a lot of the things that are going on for the two-way with other organizations, and they don't get a lot of the credit that they deserve. So shout out to the NRA. They actually have also donated to the Second Syndicate to help support us for the rallies that we host or awareness or things that we need, because like I said, we are a 501c4. So thank you to them. But, with all the controversy surrounding the NRA nationally, what does it mean for the CSSA to be Colorado's official state association of the NRA? And why does that matter for local gun owners? And how is that going to be reflective in up and coming legislative seasons?
Ray, do you mind if I take this first?
You go right ahead, Ava.
Okay, so I do feel bad because I'm not to like totally trash talk the NRA, but obviously everyone's aware of some of the stuff that has happened with them in previous years, hence why I was skeptical. And I'm still, I mean, like I went to national, what was it, the NRA annual meetings just
NRAM?
a few weeks ago in Atlanta. I'm like, what does it stand for? But I have to say, I've actually been very impressed with them in the last year. And I think that they're trying. I think that, just like Colorado State Shooting Association, here it's this organization that's been around forever. And then all new board members come in, they resurrect it. I think that it's kind of very similar with the NRA. They got rid of, all of the people that they got rid of the, Wayne
Wayne
LaPierre,
LaPierre.
and it's just they've been very active, and you have to give credit where it's due, right? Like, how are we going to continue to hate people or turn our backs on somebody who's willing to help? And at this point, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment, we like why would we do that? We have to remember who the real enemy is. And so and then also as far as like locally, uh Clay, I'm gonna mess up his name, Kimberly or something
Clay
like that.
Kimberly.
I've been
Shout out
really
to
impressed
Clay.
with
Yep,
him.
Lake Numberland.
Yeah, he has been like one of my favorite guys to talk
He's
to,
awesome.
and he's been very active. He does, he's not just in Colorado, he has other states too, but he's been doing his job. I mean, I've gotten numerous text messages, lots of emails. They've been very active this entire legislative session. So,
And very helpful. They're actually having a Freedom Fest in June at, I think, the Golden State Shooting Association. So the Second Syndicate will be there. I hope everybody comes out to support. I think that we can't sit here and complain that we need help, and then when people show up to help, that we
yeah.
turn them away.
Hmm.
So if
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
want
well
to be
said.
involved, let them be involved.
Well, I think the NRA has really done a great job trying to rebuild their reputation and their connection to the people after the excesses and failures during the Wayne LaPierre days. Because like that's when I left the NRA before, and I've rejoined since. But when we watched, all the private jets, the extravagant parties, and then the lack of action, a lot of people turned away. Especially, I think, after the failure to push the Hearing Protection Act forward back in Trump's first term, that's when a lot of us really, our frustration with them really grew. But their newer leadership is back in the fight. They're back with gun owners again, and they're really trying to make a big impact and a difference. So that means we need to get behind them and support them again. After all, they are America's original civil rights organization.
Agreed. Agreed. So I heard some information the other day about you guys, and I asked Ava if I could bring this up, but I found it was quite impressive that the CSSA board doesn't get paid. So they are not a paid board, and I'm very curious as to why that decision was made and what that says about the CSSA as where their priorities are.
So let me take that one, Ava, if you will. So I am a board member, and I am not paid for being a board member. All of our board members are in the exact same spot. And I think what that says, Alicia, is that you have a board that is committed to the Second Amendment. We're not doing this because it's a job for us or anything like that. We're on this board. We're pushing forward the freedoms, the Second Amendment freedoms for folks in the state of Colorado, not because we benefit anything by it, but because it's that important to us. And we have people coming from all walks of life. As I said, there's an attorney that has been on the board now for, I think, a little over a year. We have Colby that we've mentioned, who is an avid outdoors person. We have a couple of folks that fall into that. We have the grandpa. If you can't tell by the way that I look, that I'm a little bit older, but I love the fact that we have younger folks, we have women, so on and so forth on this. And it just tells you the commitment of those people to do what they're doing. In fact, you talked about the activity. It's amazing to see how many emails that I'm getting now on a daily basis. I mean, I literally have to go into my email almost every single day to respond to people with questions that they have, so on and so forth. And then just as we talk about the NRA and kind of CSSA, I wanted to round back a little bit on that. So we are an independent association of the NRA. All the money that comes into CSSA goes to fight issues here in the state of Colorado. That's why it's important. NRA is fighting those battles on a nationwide basis, and they will enter, as we've talked, and I'm sure we'll talk a little more, in individual states. Back, say, our excise tax lawsuit that we filed. NRA was a partner on that one where they're helping bear the cost, which is wonderful because it allows us now to go potentially file an additional lawsuit rather than having to fund just one. And as we all know, these lawsuits are not cheap. They're very expensive, and they also take a lot of time. And just watching the process on the excise tax, it's amazing. I think people just think, oh yeah, snap your fingers and file a lawsuit. It doesn't work that way. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, that money comes in, but it's nice to have that national presence. In fact, say if you watch it on TV as a lawsuit was announced, everybody was saying it's the NRA, it's the NRA, but the reality it was actually CSSA. Certainly, the NRA was involved, and we appreciate that. And then, Ava, to your comment about Clay. Clay has been wonderful. We've gotten to know him, and just a great partnership with them. We're working with them. They're working with us as well, and they have that broad presence. As we went to the NRA national meeting, one of the comments, people could not believe, and I heard this so many times, what was happening in the state of Colorado. They look at it as an outdoor state, and they're like, how in the world could you guys be going about restricting gun freedoms for the citizens of Colorado when we view you very much as a state that loves hunting and things like that? And they were just absolutely shocked and dismayed by what was happening here in the state of Colorado.
Well,
Yeah, I think Colorado, unfortunately, has really turned into a cautionary tale for much of the rest of the country as they watch you guys just get pummeled left and right by these, commie gun grabbers and blue-haired moonbats that unfortunately make up much of your legislature there. That it's really scared a lot of people in other states because they know that the pattern there is going to be duplicated, that a lot of these are copy-paste bills from various anti-gun organizations that are now being submitted in other states. We used to always look to California, and that was the big state that scared everybody, but it's rapidly turning into Colorado.
Yeah.
It's overtaken it. I think we are now third in the nation for gun control legislation, and we're also now third in the nation for violent crime. So more gun control directly correlates to more
Yeah, more
violent crime
crime.
that affects the people.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
yet, I mean, I know all of us scream that from the rooftops when we go down to the Gold Dome and we fight back against this stuff. But it seems that it's fallen on deaf ears because these politicians are completely in cahoots with the anti-gun narrative and anti-gun agenda. And I truly believe that they're corrupt and they are taking bribes, and they're doing this because they have a personal interest to disarm the people because it lines their pockets. So on that note, speaking of lining pockets, we're going to have a little break from our sponsor, from Mike Lindell and our MyPillow, and we'll be back right after a word from our sponsor.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
And we're back. So thank you again to Mike Lindell for supporting us on X America News, and shout out to X America News and Spartan Defense for continuing to be our biggest sponsors that we have here. So, Mike, did you want to comment on that? Because I know you're dying to comment on that.
Oh, no. Well, I was just going to say, right now, Mike Lindell really does need your help. He's obviously back in the crosshairs again, ever since he's threatened to run against Tampon Tim for governor of Minnesota. They're, of course, attacking his employees, his 2,500 U.S. employees at MyPillow. And that also harms all the small businesses that put their products up on mystore.com. So right now, if you use code, Alicia, what's your code again? I'm so bad at this.
The 2ND.
The 2ND. Use that code right now. You'll get the deepest discounts available on MyPillow and MyStore. And you can go try Mike Lindell's new energy drink, Rev 7. Right now, if you order a case, there's a way to get a 3-pack free so you can try all the flavors. And, think about it. If you want somebody that's going to make the finest energy drink, you want that to come from a recovering crack addict, and that is Mike Lindell. He's a great guy, great American, and it's a way to support somebody that's out there supporting the Second Amendment, supporting our right to vote, and fighting to save America. So again, use code THESECOND, the 2ND, and get yourself the deepest discounts they have to offer.
And it's really nice to have people that invest in us, because we are doing this 100% on our own accord, on our own expense. Shout out to Spartan Defense, because they do a lot for the show. So when you go and you buy from our sponsors, it really helps keep the lights on here in the studio, so we continue to bring you uncensored, unfiltered, and unapologetically American media. So thank you so much for that. So let's break down the excise lawsuit. So what CSSA is challenging, and why this case is so important for Colorado gun owners and gun shops, and how we can support that. Ray, you want to take it?
All right, Amy, do you want me to start on this one?
Yeah, so you definitely, I think you can speak better on the lawsuit than I can.
You bet. So why is this so important to the citizens of Colorado? Again, it's a 6.5% tax that went into effect on April 1st on all firearms, all ammunition, all firearm parts and pieces. And certainly there's people that can afford that. That's not right. They can afford the additional 6.5%. But there's many people that becomes it increases the cost of that firearm. It hurts the actual stores that are selling it, because now less people will purchase it. And the people that are kind of on the lower end that probably need that firearm, even more importantly, may now have to wait longer to be able to purchase the firearm. You tell me one other freedom that we have to pay an excise tax on to exercise, and there isn't. And so again, it's many of these excise tax are considered sin taxes, cigarettes,
Yes.
so on and so forth. And so now, as a Second Amendment freedom person, you're now telling me I am being hit with this additional tax, like it's a wrong thing and it's not right for me to do that, which is exactly why they put the excise tax into place in the first place, because they want to limit those who are able to purchase and for those who are able to buy. And so this affects, even if you're able to afford it, don't just think of yourself, think of all the other people that this makes it more difficult for them to be able to purchase that, to defend themselves and their family. It can become very cost prohibitive, given what the price of firearms can be at this point in time.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they're now reaching into your wallet and just stealing more of your money that they're going to spend on ludicrous programs. And what is there anything in the legislation to prevent them from, say, taking this from 6.5% to, say, 65%, where it would affect everybody buying a weapon or ammunition?
In fact, say initially it came out at 11%.
Oh.
And they reduced it back to 6.5%, but you are hitting exactly the point. They can continue to increase this if they so desire. And here's the real kicker. One of the things that this excise tax is to go do is to fund a victims assistance program because the state doesn't have enough money to do that themselves. And so now they're saying those of us that decide to purchase a firearm are going to help pay for that victim, almost like there's a connection between the firearm and the victim's assistance, which could not be further from the truth. And just it makes you want to just light your hair on fire and run out of the state of Colorado, to be honest with you.
And when we first started fighting against Prop KK, when we were down at the Capitol, we noticed that's exactly the MO of what the leftists do is they create bills that are very, very egregious, shooting for the stars, right? The 11%, because they know people are going to say, oh, no, we're not going to agree to that. That's egregious. Okay. So let's make it 6.5. And they know that they play these cat and mouse games, that they go for gold, but they know if they only get 30% of what they bargained for, they're still going to get the win. And then it's going to seem like they gave in or they compromised because they're willing and good people. But the actuality is they got exactly what they wanted. And what a lot of people in the public don't understand is that they can promise, the field of dreams of, hey, this money's going to go to help mental issues with veterans, homeless veterans, and helping get them the mental health that they need. It can go to domestic violence victims. But the truth is, it goes into a general fund. And then it's up to the bureaucrats down at the state capitol to decide how that money is used. And we heard it directly from one of our Republican senators that said, hey, Polis already has his money grubbing hands vouching that says, hey, you know what, that money, I already wanted to hire more bureaucrats because he's phasing out, but he wants to make sure that he's going to have the people in office that are going to support his ideologies. And I now actually, correct me if I'm wrong, they just had another bill this year that would say, okay, now we're going to make another bill for Prop KK that says this is how we're going to use this tax money.
Unbelievable.
Well,
Unbelievable.
yeah, exactly. So one thing that I will say though, when you said that, they basically chisel it down, they amend it down so that when it does pass, it's like, oh, well, I guess that's not as bad. But I mean, that isn't always necessarily the case. I mean, look at California, they have the 11% excise tax.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard to say if that actually is, if a bill is going to get amended to be less egregious than it is. But one thing that really attracted me to CSSA is no organization would touch a lawsuit with the excise tax. And I have to hand it to the Democrats and the bill writers. Whoever wrote that very well. And I mean, I didn't think that there was going to be a chance in hell for a lawsuit. And so, the fact that CSSA found a way and hired, I mean, some of the best lawyers. Like we're working with some of the best lawyers that can absolutely handle this. I have, a lot of faith in it. The thing that sucks though is, and Ray kind of touched upon this, is it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, we were talking about probably years, and and that's why these lawsuits are so expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
if you guys appreciate guests like Ray and Ava speaking the truth here, hit the super chat, drop a comment, donate directly to us. We do have a Give, Send, Go for the Second Syndicate. You could also go to our website and sign up for our newsletter and just help keep this movement alive, because it's nice to bring more information to everybody out there on what is going on in Colorado. I know there's a lot of states going through all the ugliness that we're going through, but our fight is still important, and we are basically the testing ground for what is coming to a state near you. So we have to hold the line. I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, just move to Alaska or get out. It's like, we're the most armed civilians in America. Why are we okay with running? We have to hold a line somewhere, and we have to fight. And I really appreciate that more people are taking the time and initiative to get involved, including yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't win a battle by ceding ground. I mean, look what's happened in New York and California because people gave up there. Colorado, there's still a chance, especially if we stand and fight and we push back against this nonsense. And I think you're right too. They go with the big ask, and then they get what they really want at the end. It's almost like maybe they read The Art of the Deal or something.
Right.
Like there's clues out there. So we did see that that CSSA created a letter to Pam Bondi. And we actually, as the second syndicate, our president and my co-founder, Teddy, put his John Hancock on that letter to Pam Bondi, including all the Republican House and Senate representatives that Colorado has and the General Assembly. So thank you, first of all, for spearheading that and welcoming us into that movement. We appreciate that. But what message were you sending, and how do you hope national leaders can support Colorado in the two-way fight? And can we break down exactly what that would look like if indeed the feds did come to Colorado and get involved? That way people are aware of what the expectation is.
You bet. And let me talk. I mean, it was one of the coolest things to see all the Republican legislators, all the Republican Congress people sign off on that letter. But one of the things that was discouraging was to see all the bills that have been passed over the last 2 to 3 legislative sessions, almost 2 entire pages of bills infringing upon our Second Amendment freedoms. It's hard to remember, right? As a legislative session happens, to realize all the stuff and to look at that letter and see that it's unbelievable, which goes to, hey, why is this important? Well, number one, we want to call attention on a national level to Pam Bondi, and hopefully we're able to get the Department of Justice involved. How does that help? When they see the plethora of all those bills that have happened, again, Ava hit it. I've mentioned as well, it costs money and it takes time. If the DOJ will go and sue on those bills, sue the state of Colorado on those bills, guess what? It saves us as an organization, as a Second Amendment organization, having to fund all these lawsuits that we need to do. And it puts it into the Department of Justice's hands to go through and do it and call the national attention to it. One of the things that was neat, as we talked about the excise tax, was to see the national groups, the NRA, Second Amendment Foundation, and the Firearms Policy Coalition jump in. But to do it on all the different bills that we have, under 21, ammunition now not being able to be sold, just the whole plethora, the FFLs, right, having to now have a separate license in addition to their FFL in the state of Colorado. It's affecting anybody that wants to purchase a gun, organizations and businesses that want to sell firearms. Everybody's been affected over the last several legislative sessions. If you're under 21, your inability to purchase a firearm, and now this year with the latest legislation, not even being able to purchase any ammunition. Again, we have people who are 18, 19, going off, fighting in the military. They can get married, and yet they can't have and protect their family. It's absolutely insane. So we're hoping with what we did and to have that kind, I think Ava, almost every Republican sheriff signed off on it. The organization Second Amendment Foundation, or the second group, again, signing a bunch of partners. It's just a big deal for people to realize, hey, we've had it. Again, at the end of the day, that's great. We have a good administration that will hopefully look into this stuff, but we ultimately know we're going to have to do something with the state of Colorado, because if the administration were to change in the future, again, we can lose a lot of ground. And then one of the other comments, yeah, you hear a lot of people, I'm leaving Colorado. Folks, think if that would have happened during the American Revolution and nobody would have done it, we wouldn't have the country that we have today. Mm-hmm. And guess what? It's going to come to your state at some point in time. All the stuff, just like we're saying, it's a copy paste out of Washington, out of California, and coming into Colorado, it will come into your state at some point in the future. It can almost guarantee it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to Jeff Benjamin. He donated $5 to the cause. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Round of applause to you. So I know for a fact, I mean, I can personally vouch for seeing Ava down at the Capitol and seeing her testify, because I'm right there alongside with her. So thank you for that. She's actually been doing that on her own before she was actually involved in in CSSA. And I really appreciate that. But I don't think a lot of people see what goes on behind the scenes. And, you know, fighting down at the Capitol is one thing, but what else is CSSA doing, not only in the courts, but in the communities or the culture, to protect and expand the two-way here in Colorado?
I mean, I personally, like, I've seen them, you know, they've been incredibly active on all fronts, whether they are, you know, educating people on what's going on. They've been very active at events, sending speakers, sometimes myself, sometimes others. They've, you know, they're also, one thing I liked about them is not only are they active in lawsuits, but also just even shooting competitions. I think that we get so wrapped up in these lawsuits and stuff, and I think that a lot of people outside of the Capitol and outside of the anybody who's politically active, again, they don't know what's going on, and so they've been also very engaged with shooting competitions, and then also educating people that way. um I really can't think of any, like, I can't think of what CSSA doesn't have their hand in at this point. I don't know. Ray, do you want to elaborate on that? I mean, they have training
Yeah, no, you've
programs.
done a great job, Ava, on that. And I think one of the things, I mean, obviously getting our name out there, creating the awareness, you guys have been talking about that, and that is something we want to do. But right, we talk about these lawsuits and how long and how costly. And I think one of the neat things that I saw and why I came on the organization was to see what we do from a political standpoint. We are a 501(c)(4) as well. And what we want to do, first off, is get good people into office. If we do that, we stop a lot of these bills from ever seeing the light of day. And so we have been involved, in primaries and endorsing candidates in primaries that we believe can win, that can push forward the Second Amendment for us in the state legislature. If you look at this last year, right, 3 offices were picked up in the House, which no supermajority anymore for the Democrats. We have 11 seat differential in the Senate between the Republicans and Democrats. If we can pick up 6 seats in the 2026 election cycle, the Republicans now, the Second Amendment friendly folks, will have one of the houses. Guess what? All these bills we've talked about over the last 3 legislative sessions never see the light of day, which is wonderful, right? And that really is it. And one of the things I want to call people out to is it's amazing. I have friends, and it just frustrates the daylights out of me. Don't even bother to show up to vote. Okay.
Yeah.
If
Exactly.
you don't show up to vote, don't even talk to me. All right.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what your complaint or gripe is. You've got to at least do what's required and show up to vote. Don't talk about Second Amendment if you're not voting. You've got to show up. 40%, I believe, is the number of firearm owners do not vote. And guys, guys and gals, this is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we're seeing happen in Colorado what's happening. And if those folks that are concerned about the Second Amendment showed up to vote, you change elections. I mean, we know right now that there's at least 6 seats up for grabs that are in competitive districts in the 2026 election. I said we only need 6. If we can win all 6 of those seats, people show up to vote, they help, they canvass. In fact, say, you can send a message to info@cssa.org if you want to get involved here in the state of Colorado in those districts. We will find a use for you to come help get those folks elected that will take care and watch out for your Second Amendment freedoms.
Well, we had
Yeah,
people that ran unopposed. It's like
Yeah.
that shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't have people just walking into these seats with nobody being open to resisting them from a different party. Like, we need more people to get involved, and we need more people that want to run. Like, if you think you could do half a better job of what these people are doing, run, because people
Yeah.
will support you and
Which
get you in
shouldn't be
there.
hard from the Democrats.
Tell me about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's, a lot of people like to whine and complain, be keyboard ninjas, but they need to
Yeah.
get in the game and actually fight. Because I'm sick of talking to people like that. I mean, this is something we harp on all the time on my program on the insurrection. That, right now, like in Colorado, if everybody watching this program were to go get 3 friends they have that are pro-gun that don't vote and drag them to the polls, I don't care if you got to pick them up in the morning and drop them off, make sure they vote. Like, those are the kind of things that you can do that will actually make a difference, actually make an impact. Get 10 of your friends to go volunteer. Stop crying about it on Facebook, or nothing is going to change. And again, if you're in one of these areas that you can pick up seats or take over a city council, anything from the ground up matters. I mean, obviously, you guys need change at the state level, but really, bottom up is a change. What you need, we need to take control of the system again. So stuff like this is unthinkable.
Share this message.
Absolutely.
That's very important. Like, for everybody out there, we want them to share this message. We want them to get involved. Share this stream. Tag your lawmakers and let them know Colorado isn't going down without a fight. So we are going to make sure that we have more people involved, but we can't do that alone. So it's nice when we see people, just like you're saying, the the fact that everybody was like, we have this organization and we can do so much more with it. So what you're doing is bringing more people in and getting more people involved in the fight. And I think that that is one of the solutions. I don't think it's the solution to everything, but it's a start. The more bodies, the better.
Yeah, and the
Well, and
CSA.
just one other thing to add to that, I live in what I call the communist city of Denver, okay, which is
Oh
now more
yeah.
left
Ugh.
of Boulder, okay? Guys, you're not going to get somebody elected in the House or in the Senate in Denver. It's just not going to happen. The odds, I live in the most conservative district, and the best we can turn out is about 35%. So guess what? Go help in those swing districts, in those competitive districts to get those people elected. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your resources in your House districts or Senate districts. Go help those that have the chance to win. And that's how we begin taking the state back.
Absolutely.
And I was just at an event last Friday, and it was a Denver GOP first breakfast. And that's what I mentioned to them. Guys, don't put the resources in here. Go put them into races where we have a chance at actually winning and turning things back on what's been going on. And that's where we have to begin. And I think if we got the momentum, we could kill some of this stuff, right? Things start to get a little bit better. But when you have everybody saying, I'm going to bail out, I'm going to leave, or I'm not even showing up to vote, that is the death knell for the state of Colorado, which is the most, sorry, Mike, the most beautiful state in the entire country. All right. And we are letting it burn, which is really
Yeah.
sad.
Well, this is the other thing I want to say is the CSSA, they can lead the way, but they're reliant on everyone else in the state to do the heavy lifting. They don't have enough people to accomplish the goals on their own. They're going to be reliant on you to do that. They need foot soldiers on the ground that'll be out there rounding up votes and bringing people to the polls and actually implementing change, whether that's getting people to sign petitions or harass useless useless representatives until they correct their thinking. They need an army on the ground, and that's what they need you for.
Speaking of an army on the ground, we're going to take a quick break from one of our sponsors, Live Up to Freedom, Annie Cyrus, and we will be right back. Awesome. And we are back. Shout out to Annie and Ex America News for supporting us over here at the Second Syndicate. Shout out to our friends on all of Ex America News shows. We have a really good thing going on here, so please support us, donate. Go to your source. We're your go-to source right now in Colorado for the grassroots movement here in Colorado. We want to be more than just a show. We are definitely a movement, so please stay tuned and support us. We have more shows coming your way. We actually have in 2 weeks, we will have the Second Amendment Foundation on our show talking about all the things that they're doing, not only in Colorado, but nationally to fight back against all this gun control. Next week, we have House Representative Carlos Barron. He is going to join us here next week on Thursday as well. So like, share, support, subscribe. Make sure that you guys are hitting that bell for those notifications. And back to the Inquisition. So we have heard that there has been a lot of chatter online when it comes to CSSA supporting Democratic candidates. So what's the real story behind that, and how did you guys how do you decide who earns your support down at the Colorado General Assembly?
Ray, I think you should answer this one because you've obviously been with CSSA longer.
Sounds good. So that's interesting that the chatter is saying we support Democratic candidates. Number one, since I've been on the board since about 2021, we have never supported a Democratic candidate. That's not to say that we couldn't, but there's a survey that is put out to all the people running for office every 2 years on a 2-year cycle. And it's based on how they answer, how Second Amendment friendly are the folks that are turning the surveys in. The thing that makes me laugh is when somebody says, oh, you supported Democratic candidates. The Democrats don't even turn the survey back into us.
Wow.
So there's no way we could support them because we don't even get a survey turned back in. They don't even waste their time because they've all been bought off by our friend Michael Bloomberg, Every Town, or Mothers Demand Action, and they won't even return the survey. So that has not happened on my watch. Could it potentially happen in the future? Possibly. But I think that's a unicorn. A Democrat that supports the Second Amendment is almost
Yeah.
non-existent in our world today.
I mean, so
Um,
I will say, you know, in some ways, Ray, I kind of have to disagree to an extent because I used to think like, well, like, okay, Shannon Bird, Rep. Shannon Bird, who's running for Senate. So she's the perfect example. Last year she voted, I'm pretty sure she voted for all or against all gun control, if not majority of it. And I was just like, you know what? She's a decent Democrat. Like she actually listens to her constituents. She clearly, believes in the Second Amendment and or if nothing else, I mean the Constitution. But this year, like I don't know what happened. But she wasn't, I mean, she voted in favor of SB3. And so, I mean, to date, I don't think that I would ever support a Democrat. I don't really think that I mean, I think at this point to support a Democrat, I think it's a waste of funds. I think that right now, I think that I think that there's something to be said about bringing balance, that having that balance in Colorado and not giving full control to one side or the other, because I think any extreme, can get out of hand. But I don't, I mean, I think this year has been the year that I've realized that like I don't trust a single Democrat at all. I don't
Yeah, I
think that
think
I would ever support. I mean, as of right now, where I stand is I would not support a single Democrat.
Yeah, I think the day of the Blue Dog Democrat has passed. I think that's also why we saw a few of them leaving Congress at the federal level, people that used to be pro 2A, but on the left otherwise. Unfortunately, they've been replaced by a cadre of people, for whatever reason, that are more concerned with protecting the rights of pansexual left-handed leprechauns than they are the
Yep.
Second Amendment or pursuing the things that the people really want in the state. That they
Yeah.
are instead more in tune with this cult ideology, and that's what they will advance no matter what. And unfortunately, in a state where like Colorado, where the balance of power is so close or used to be so close, unfortunately, when they unify on those issues, it's very hard to stop them.
And
Yeah. I mean,
unfortunately, like I'll say it, the Second Syndicate is a pro 2A organization. I don't care what your political affiliation is. I care if you're loyal to the 2A. If you were
Yeah.
going to ride or die for the 2A. If a independent, if a libertarian, if a liberal, if a Democrat stepped up to the plate and we can get them nominated in Denver because they're not a Republican, but they play kindly to the 2A and they support freedom in that aspect, absolutely get them in there. We have other
well, look at
organizations that are there to champion other causes. But for
yeah.
me,
I mean,
I need you to be diehard to the 2A or else.
look at Timmy Hamas.
Oh, yeah.
Timmy Hernandez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tip Fernandez.
Hamas.
I just call him that
I
because
like that.
but I mean, so he was horrific. And then we had Cecilia Espinoza replace him. And I mean,
She's no better.
I mean, she's definitely a little bit more, I mean, she's definitely more moderate than he is. I mean, I think at this point, majority of Democrats are, but so it's like at that point, okay, well, it's again, and I think this is where people need to realize is politics really, it's a game of chess.
Yes.
And you kind of have to see the overall picture and you have to think, okay, well, what makes the most sense? So do we get, maybe, who knows, maybe later on, it would be great if Colorado was in a position where they weren't trying to flip seats and get more Republicans in House. And we could, concentrate on, let's say, districts in Denver, that are really difficult to turn red, but then it would probably be more beneficial to get, a pro to a Democrat in that seat. But just unfortunately, right now we're not in that position.
And
They
unfortunately,
tend to vote in a block. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, now they're definitely in a cult anymore. I think you used to have more diverse opinions over there, but now if you're not in tune with the specific ideology, you're not part of the club. And then why would you be a Democrat to begin with? But yeah, to your point, if you were in a different position, then yeah, I think recruiting some, I'll call them blue dog Democrats again, some people that do have more traditional values when it came to the Second Amendment and other things. But I think at this point there's non-existent. But yes, in a future where you already have the legislature and you're not getting this gun grabbing legislation, then yeah, trying to infiltrate the other side and put some people in that are pro 2A but are still whack jobs and the rest of the stuff. Yeah, good move, but right now that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
In fact, you mentioned that bill, Senate Bill 25003. it's interesting. Over 500,000 communications came in to the governor's office. It did
Wow.
not have any impact. He still signed the bill. When we were at the NRA convention, talked to the NRA state association there in New Mexico, and the gentleman said the difference between New Mexico and Colorado is if the legislators got flooded with the email traffic and communications that the Colorado legislators did, it actually changes. They will change their tune. Colorado just
Yeah.
doesn't care. I mean, they are
There,
so hell bent on disarming. And one of the people, Ava, you didn't mention was Elizabeth Epps, right? It was Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez. She got
yeah.
primaried out as well
Hmm.
by somebody, and they were very bold about saying, "Yeah, we're here to disarm and to abolish firearms altogether." I mean, that really was what their goal was, and I think that goal has stuck with what they've done. Although they've been very, very clever in how they went about crafting the bill for this year versus what they had done in the past, and probably made it even worse than an outright ban. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Epps got primaried by Camacho, who
Yeah,
is,
Sean Camacho. Yep.
yeah, he's a joke, but
Yeah. Not
yeah.
a little bit better, but not much.
Slightly better,
Yeah,
but I
slightly.
mean, he's sponsored quite a few anti-gun bills.
Yep.
Um,
And I think that they're they know that we're going to sit here and we're going to fight, but they also know that they could care less. I mean, you've seen the videos of them coloring and not even being in the House or Senate floor hearing the debates or being a part of it because their mind is made up. They know that they're going to do anything to be anti-gun, and I see when they're negotiating to protect certain seats. So when we had one, I think it was Senate Bill 3, we were so focused on making sure that Tony Exum didn't vote for Senate Bill 3 that we put so much pressure on him. But in my mind, the Dems are like, hey, listen, Tony, we know that your seat can be flipped very, very easily to a red seat. We're going to tell you to vote for the gun owners because we know
they
that we're
gave
going
him
to kill it
cover.
anyway.
They
So let's
switched
do what we
places.
can
Yeah, air
to
cover.
protect your
Yeah.
seat
Mhm.
Yeah.
so you don't, raise hairs and they're like, hey, get rid of you and give them a reason to primary you and get you out of there. So they're very well in tune with what they're doing. They're very smart. I don't want people to think that the opposition is a bunch of I know they're blue-haired crazy people, but they're very smart in their strategy, and we need to get more determined and a little bit more on our game because they certainly have it cut out.
Yeah,
Yes, the people that run the blue-haired crazy people are very smart. That's what we have to look
exactly.
out for.
Not the blue
Yes,
people.
exactly right.
So 2026, it's shaping up to be a very, very huge election year for the state of Colorado. What is CSSA doing to prepare, and how can viewers and people out there get involved, not now, but just, in 2 years and continue the momentum that we have right now?
I mean, so they're already looking at, the districts and focusing on which districts are competitive, looking at, um, who would be the best candidate for that district. In addition to that, we have, started educating people on which districts are, are I don't know why. I told you guys beforehand that my brain's like fried today. But or which districts are most vulnerable. And we're letting people know that so that they actually, they're aware that like they're in that district and they better turn up, at the polls. But in addition to that, I think really, I mean, we're obviously going to raise funds because that's going to be key in trying to focus on these campaigns, especially when we're up against, money from like Bloomberg. I mean, look how much he put into Senator Sullivan's district. I mean, I think it came out that he put in almost $1 million. So that's what we're up against. So it's really important that one, we raise funds, but also just from a grassroots perspective, and this is where I really want to step up my game, is just again getting out and educating more people, and then telling them to educate more people, and letting them know what's going on, encouraging them to vote. If they're not registered to vote, register. I mean, you don't have to wait for it to be an election year to register. If you're not registered, it's really easy to get registered. It takes all of about 2 seconds. So, I mean, just having these conversations, I think that we're in a position now where we can no longer decide like, hey, we're not going to discuss politics with strangers or with friends and family. We have to, if we want to make a change, we have to discuss politics.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't know, Ray, if you want to add to that.
No, I think
And,
you've
and
done
then,
a really
and
good
then
job. And again,
actually,
just
there's
organizing. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, there's one thing I want to say is like you guys. So one thing that I've been incredibly impressed with CSSA is the amount of resources that they have. I mean, they can do all kinds of I mean, it's way over my head, but they can get like, statistics and all these facts and really figure out like where the best districts, and what's effective and so it's no longer, I mean, in the past, it was kind of like, well, we looked at this and we think that this is going to be a district that we can flip. Whereas like you guys actually have like factual information that, uh, I mean, that's been proven. And so, sorry, I just had to put that in there, but that's also been
No,
very,
it's that data, the data, and it's really again, you talk about kind of Republicans or whatever, Second Amendment versus the kind of liberal side. They have all the money in the world. We don't. We have limited resources, and we use it. We don't target those people. We know how they're going to vote. We go after the ones that typically are going to lean our direction, the Second Amendment direction, but they don't vote. We will target those folks as we go after this. And oftentimes we'll get major bang for the buck in that we can help somebody get elected to Congress, we can help them get elected to the Senate, and we can help them get elected to the House district with just being able to send out one message, and it yet targets helps all three of the people running that are Second Amendment friendly at those different levels, which is absolutely fantastic. So I'd say we try to do it smarter. And that data that Ava referred to is a huge, huge piece of what we're able to do. And again, we want to double down. So what do we need? Donations and people. I mean, feet on the ground. I think where we lose oftentimes is the ground game. And again, if you're interested in helping, info@cssa.org. If you want to personally get involved, helping those races that are really critical for us to take over one of the houses in the state of Colorado, info@cssa.org. We will get you plugged in to campaigns, to people that have that chance to potentially take the state back.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I do think in this upcoming election, and again, I don't want people to get complacent. They obviously need to get out there and get involved, but I do think that you guys will have a big advantage going into 2026 because Democrat popularity is an all-time low. These imaginary polls, the mental patients over at the dinosaur media keep stacking together to show that somehow there's going to be a blue wave coming up. It's not reality. Right now, they have less support than they ever did. They don't have contributions coming in. Their main fundraising arm, Act Blue, is about to get torn limb from limb. So coming into 2026, we are going to have a big advantage, especially since I don't expect the left to change any of their policies on anything, whether that be gun control, transing your kids, taking away parental rights like they are in Colorado, and all the other tyranny that you're dealing with over there. So I think rallying the base, rallying the troops, and ripping a lot of these people out of office is a very realistic objective, especially if we have another 2 years or a year and a half of the same nonsense that we've seen so far out of Colorado since the last election cycle. So again, this is the time to get your friends together, find other 2A supporters, get them registered to vote, make sure they get to the polls, donate whatever you can afford to, and actually get involved because they're going to need boots on the ground. But there is a real opportunity to flip that entire state and take it back from these lunatic moonbats.
I love this. I really do. This is exactly why we created this network and this media channel, to bring more people like us together, because it wouldn't happen if we're dealing with the censorship and the blocking and the hindrance. We have over 400,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it is not pushing our content. It's not pushing our algorithm. It's hiding us because we are spreading truth speech. And it's like, my friend Devin always says, truth is the new hate speech. So it's like now that we have a new avenue with Ex America News, we can start talking about the difficult things and highlighting the beautiful side of the 2A, the coming together of like-mindedness in different generations, and the camaraderie that comes with fighting together and sharing the same goals when it comes to freedom. So I really appreciate having everybody join us tonight. I hope everybody in the chat really enjoyed this conversation. I hope we addressed some of the things that people were wanting to know when it came to CSSA and where they've been and what they're doing. I think it's time that we allow people the grace of, if they want to help, let people join us. It's a new time and it's a new day, and we need allies, and we don't always have to be best friends to be aligned. We don't have to go and hold hands and skip after this, but at the end of the day, we're all in this fight together. So allow us to do what we do best, and that is to kick these Democrats out of office. And I hate to sound so biased, like I'm so anti-Democrat, but living in Colorado has really
This
made me
is
stale.
exactly,
I-
this is what's happened.
And that is the unfortunate reality on the ground. Like we've hinted at a number of times, there used to be pro 2A Democrats that, maybe they were lunatics on other issues, or maybe they just had different opinions, but they still respected the Constitution. Unfortunately, I think that party is largely dead. The ones that were like that are now Trump voters. They're now on the right.
Awesome. Well, we're going to close the show down here in a second. I wanted to ask you guys one last question for all the gun owners watching who haven't yet joined CSSA. What's your message to them? Why now should they join, and how can they support? And, what about you is something that they can bet on and count on to see in the future?
So I personally would say that I think we're only just now getting started, and we have so much more to accomplish, and we will accomplish that. Um, it's nice to it's nice to work with an organization that actually knows who the enemy is, and that is Democrats, and we're staying focused on that. There's sometimes some drama and stuff, but I mean, we just keep moving forward, and we'll continue to do so. And we know exactly, who our enemy is, and we're looking to make change. And so I think that, if you want to put your money behind an organization that is focused on the prize, I would say CSSA is definitely that organization.
Awesome. Ray, would you
And
like
again,
to chime in on that?
You betcha. You betcha. And we're going to be here. We're going to defend your Second Amendment rights. Why? Because they're our rights as well. And it's very, very important. And Ava, I think you said it very well. We are focused on what we're trying to accomplish. We have a game plan. We're going to execute that game plan. And just again, I want to caveat, hey, it may take us a couple of election cycles to get where we want to. But again, if we can take one of the houses in the legislature in the next 2 to 3 cycles, all right, we begin to curtail back, stop this bad stuff that's gone through. And we have to keep working. Even once we get there, we want to take both houses. We want to take the governorship. We want to start being able to, but it takes time. And if you're in it for the short haul, it's not going to work. We're in it for the long haul, and we're here to defend the freedoms, the Second Amendment freedoms of all citizens of the state of Colorado.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mike, anything you want to say before we close out?
I was just going to say, spending your dollars with an organization like CSSA means they are boots on the ground. They are in the state. They don't have huge administrative costs that strip away part of the value that you gave to them. So that means your money is going to make maximum impact. So these are the kind of organizations that we need to support if we want to actually see change on the ground in Colorado.
Wonderful. So when we close the show out here, we like to ask our guests a couple questions. So first of all, I'll start with Ray and then Ava, because I've seen your arsenal, and it's very, very, it turns a lot of people jealous, including me. But what is your holy grail gun? If you could have any gun in the world, what would it be? And also, what is your favorite everyday carry?
So my favorite gun in the world is probably going to be a Glock, and my favorite carry gun, the one that I have, is a G48, and I love it.
Awesome. It's a great gun.
Are you for real? That's what you chose? A Glock?
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, Ava. I know that's not what you're going to say.
I was like, gosh, I have so many that I want.
I have so many that I
Um,
want too.
I know. I mean, ultimately, gosh, a minigun would be amazing.
See, exactly. Somebody that agrees with me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's something that, but I'm also, I mean, yeah, again, like you guys, anybody who follows me or seeing me, they've seen, I mean, I don't have even a gun room. I have a gun basement. The amount of ammo that I have is insane. Like I have more ammo than a gun store. My dad is known as, he's media likes to call him the most armed man in America. So it's tough because I have access to a lot of guns, but a minigun would be freaking awesome if I personally owned one.
okay. I need
Well,
to go back and correct. I need to go back
No,
and correct
you're
some
not.
things.
No,
I said
forget it. You
Glock.
want a
Sorry,
Glock,
sorry.
Yeah,
and I'm
I
forever
was
gonna
not
throw that in your face.
expecting that. I was not expecting that, and I'm changing my mind. Any gun in the world I could have, okay? A Tommy gun,
okay.
absolutely a Tommy
I
gun.
love Tommy guns. I think they're amazing. We have one in the
they have
shop
the
right
cool
now
factor.
here at Spartan
Yeah,
Defense.
Exactly.
they're just
Yeah,
they're like
see?
heavy, and I mean they're
Yeah.
cool. They're all right.
We have
I'm
some
gonna
Dave, if
go.
I can
Marines as
hold
the
that with one
MK19.
arm, yes. All right, it's all good.
I mean they're meant to be fired from the hip for a reason.
Well,
Exactly.
Ava said
Spray and
But
pray.
that she has so
yeah,
much ammo that she's gonna come by the shop and donate a whole bunch to me.
No, exactly.
yeah, by the pallets. I just know that when I move, like God bless the movers.
They're
Well,
going to be
Hey,
showing up
Ava,
with a
I hate to tell you,
forklift.
it's by the pound, by the way. It's by the
Yeah, I
pound when you
know. That's
move.
how like I'm gonna be like, oh well, they're gonna be like, we didn't see the ammo room when we gave you a quote.
too
That sounds
bad.
like your problem, not mine.
That's right.
Exactly.
So, folks out there, if you like tonight's episode, don't forget to subscribe, to share, to donate. We are 100% grassroots, and every little bit of support goes to defending and protecting the Second Amendment here in Colorado and bringing you more media and entertainment when it comes to that. We have some amazing guests coming up. Next week, we're going to have Carlos Barron on the show. He is House Representative here in Colorado. We're going to have a whole bunch of really interesting things to talk about with him. Um, Absolutely going to dive into the Latino and Mexicano culture in Colorado and how they are ridiculously Democrat and how we need to change that because it's not serving the community, because I can say that. And the week after that, we have the Second Amendment Foundation that will be on our show. Teddy and I will also be traveling, so stay with us because we're going to have some really cool things coming up. And if you really, really want to, please go over to Rumble and subscribe over there. Check us out on all of our platforms. Hit the like button. Make sure you're following all of our guests here as well. Shout out to Ava and CSSA. Thank you guys. We really appreciate you. This is the Second Syndicate, and where freedom has a voice and tyranny will always meet resistance because the second is first. So thank you again to everybody joining. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Peace out. Go have a wonderful evening.